Hello, you guys, and welcome back to the Biz Birthday Bash podcast. Today, we are talking all about how we use Dubsado as stationers. And it's so funny, we were just talking about that we couldn't believe we have not done an episode on this yet, but truly, it's like we use it so much and it's part of us that you don't even realize that we need to talk about it. So today, we're going to be breaking down all of the steps and talking about each part of our process, step by step, and how we use Dubsado as stationery designers. So basically, Dubsado makes our client experience absolutely freaking seamless, you guys. And if you're not on the Dubsado train, you will be after this episode because we're going to make it so enticing for you. So if you're not even sure what Dubsado is, it is a CRM, which if you don't know, stands for Client Relationship Manager, which is exactly what it does. It makes your relationship with your clients incredible and helps you maintain that great relationship. So I can't wait to talk about all things Dubsado, and Elizabeth has a little special surprise to announce.
Yeah, guys, we have a special guest today. Just for a little part of the episode here at the introduction, we are going to talk to Becca Berg, one of the co-founders of Dubsado. Her and her husband, Jake, founded Dubsado a few years back, 2015, 2016, something like that, you guys. She'll answer those questions for us. But we're going to go ahead and talk to Becca for a few minutes, and then we'll come back here to talk about our process. Hi, Becca. We are so excited that you're joining us today. Thank you so much for hopping on and being willing to talk to our audience real quick and just to answer some questions about Dubsado.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on.
You're welcome. Like Cami and I have said, guys, we are huge Dubsado fans. We have used this company ever since we started our businesses back in 2016. And so we are so thankful to Becca and Jake and everything they have done. So, Becca, to get us started, what did you and Jake do before you guys started Dubsado? Give us a little bit of your history.
Yeah, so that kind of led us to starting Dubsado. So definitely an important question. Before Dubsado, I was a photographer. And I also had a full-time day job managing my dad's online business. So my dad has an online business for agents, and I also worked at my mom's agency. So I was doing a lot on the side of being a photographer. And Jake, my husband, was running a retreat center. So he was booking a whole bunch of weddings and events and stuff like that for the retreat center. So you can see kind of how Dubsado might have evolved from that.
I knew your background, but I didn't know his. And so I didn't realize he was in events as well, because in my mind, he's always been the computer guy, quote unquote.
Yeah, that's what he is in my mind too, the computer guy.
Yeah, he didn't program until he met me when I asked him, because I set up my website when I was a photographer and I did all that myself. But there was this one code in my website that I literally couldn't get. So I was like, Jake, do you know how to do anything subtly with programming? And he goes, well, I could just try it out. So we were just dating at the time, and he wanted to impress me by fixing my website. So that's what kind of got him on his journey of coding. Was my photography website.
Oh my gosh, that's the cutest.
Yeah, there you go. It actually makes so much sense. I love it. So go ahead and tell us next, when did the idea for Dubsado happen? Like, talk about what point and stage of life you guys were in and why starting this company was so important to you.
Yeah, so I had been doing photography long before I met Jake. And then when I met Jake, my photography kind of ramped up because, we needed to afford buying a house and we were getting married. So that was a good income stream for us. And then with him managing the events and retreat center, life just kind of got a little crazy. Then a child came along after we got married. So life just started to happen. And I was booking weddings and I was realizing that my back and forths with the client, I was losing a lot of PDFs in the replies back and forth. And our son ended up coloring on a few of the contracts that I had printed out. So I was like, I got to get this situated. So I actually went and I researched client management systems that I can get my business on. And I tried a few out, but nothing really felt like my business. I couldn't customize things the way I wanted to. I wanted to look like my business, have the feel that Becca Liz experience had when I was a photographer. And nothing quite really did that. So I asked Jake, I was like, can you make me something? And of course, like he always does. Well, sure, never done that before, but let's go ahead and make that. So we decided then that would be something that we would want to pursue as well, to making it a public thing. So at that moment, from that idea, we were like, okay, well, let's start a website. So we started a website, then we started an Instagram, and we set a date for our launch, and we just worked towards that.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. And I know the name also came from your son, right?
Yes, that is correct. The one that colored all over the contracts. Yeah, he was about 2 at the time, and he really liked singing. So he was like dubba dubba dee Dubsado, dubba dubba dee Dubsado. And we didn't have a name for Dubsado at the time, and we are just like, well, we wanted it to be something that was very family oriented, because that's how we run Dubsado. Everyone here is a part of our family. So we just named it after our son. Dubsado means nothing. So, but it means something special to us.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much too. And I feel like I think Elizabeth and I were like one of your first customers. I mean, not like the first.
Yes.
Yeah, we were like in there. We're like, oh geez. We're like, we have to get on board with this. It's so amazing. So I feel like we've like grown with you. Like our businesses have grown, Dubsado has grown. Like I feel like you guys have outgrown us though, because I'm like, I can't even keep up with all the new features. Like I don't even know. But in the beginning, when you first started, what were some of the first steps that you guys took to really grow? Because I feel like it's just been exponential for you guys.
Yeah. When we launched Dubsado at the very beginning, we only had about 25% of the features that we intended on launching with. And that was just due to pure capacity of it just being Jake, and there was no one else but him and I. So I was like, okay, well, we had many people on our waiting list ready to sign up and try out Dubsado from all of our, just capturing leads and stuff. So that was a really exciting thing. But I was also pretty bummed that, we only had 25% of the features that we wanted to go with. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put our best foot forward, show people who we are as people, who we're going to be as a company, and they can just really grow with us. So instead of just focusing on what we didn't have, I focused on the customers and making sure that any question that they had, it was answered right away. So our customer support was something that was really important to me at the beginning, and just showing that we're growing with you, and just being very transparent in what we're doing. So what really helped us grow as a company was word of mouth, because people felt that connection to us. They felt like they were part of Jake and I's family. They saw what we were doing behind the scenes every day. They felt they were part of the journey, and it got people to sign up. It got people invested in our journey, and ultimately helping grow their business along the way, as well as we grew and created more features.
I remember that so clearly when you guys first started the company, because you did a lot of that through the Facebook group. So it was kind of like you brought that wall down initially anyways, to be like, we're here in the Facebook group for you guys to ask us anything. We'll always be answering. I remember telling Cami, I was like, I don't know how they do this. This is like crazy, like overwhelming, like all the questions you were fielding. But you're so right that people were really talking about you guys, because obviously you have your competitors, other people in the industry doing similar things. And there was a lot of frustration in the creative community with some of the other companies at the time that you could not get a response. Like you couldn't get the customer service and the help that you needed.
Right.
And people were 100% willing to say, you know what, like I'm going to give this company a try. I'm going to give Dubsado a try, because they might have less features right now, but they're there for me. And that's how I totally felt in the beginning. And when I started using the platform, after trying a couple of the other ones, it just didn't feel right. It didn't make sense to me. And I tried Dubsado, and I was like, oh, this just clicks. This works. And I was so excited about what you guys were doing. And another thing too is, you guys have always said from the beginning you would never be like a public company, right? Like you wouldn't take investment money, basically. If you can explain that to our audience, that would be great.
Yeah. I know for a tech company, it's something that might be a little odd, but to us, it's always made sense, just because we, especially at the very, very early stages of Dubsado, of course, it would have been easy to accept a couple $1 million, or like our competition, $75 million plus dollars in funding, and quickly grow our business. But we wanted to take what we had and really take time to invest in the proper channels that it should go out. We were growing ourselves as well as a company. We're still growing ourselves in terms of our structure and our roles and how we do things. So if we just threw a whole bunch of money at things, Dubsado would have just been, I feel like, a mess of a whole bunch of things we just threw money at. Instead, we're now like methodically going at things, really investing our money in things that are important right now and slowing down and thinking about it. And going slow is hard sometimes, but it allows us to perfect our processes and really just be methodical about it. Another reason why I want to stay self-funded is I want to show people that you can start a software company. You can start a business with very, very little. When Jake and I started Dubsado, I don't know if you've heard this story before, but we had a $1,000 insurance check to write and we had like $900 in the bank. So we were very strapped at the time, but we still knew this now is the most perfect time to start a company, and why not change that situation if we can and make things for the better. So you can do it. You can go from zero, work your way up to something else, something better.
That's so inspiring. I love it.
I know. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to cry right now because I don't know why. Well, not only is your story so inspiring, but I'm just like sitting here thinking about like how much your business and your story has like influenced my business and my story and like made things possible. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is like so cool. And it's so true that you talk about like being slow and methodical and running your business with like intentionality. And I've always really, really felt that from you guys. Like I always felt heard, even when I asked really stupid questions at the beginning, I know I was emailing you directly and you would get back to me in like 30 seconds. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing, amazing customer service. And just like the heart behind everything is so evident. And I think that's what makes you guys really stand out and why people just love you, because you have so much heart in your business and you really, really listen to your customers. You've always listened to any insight we've had and they're like, oh, this would be awesome if you did this. Like, I feel like you're always listening and growing in that direction and not just growing for the sake of growing. It's always like, oh, this is purposeful. This is someone, people are asking for this. This will actually be useful. And it's not just like a feature we're going to throw out for no reason. Like there's so much purpose and heart behind everything you do. So I just am so excited right now.
And if we had a board of directors or someone that we had to report to, we wouldn't have been able to get things done by listening to our customers as fast as we did. So we didn't have to report to anyone. It was just like, hey, let's get this done. So
one of the funny things too, Becca, that I've probably never told you, but my brother lives in Santa Monica, which how far is that from you guys really?
Mm-hmm. You know, to be honest.
Or Santa Barbara, sorry.
Oh, Santa Barbara?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Santa Barbara. That's like 2 hours away.
Okay. Because I kept telling him like the past 4 years, I'm like, you should just move and go work for Dubsado. Just like apply for Dubsado. I've told him so many times. He never like did it, but I always told him that because I knew just from like watching you guys that it would be a great company to work for. Heck, I would probably work for you guys. Like, I probably would.
You're hired.
Like, I love your company so much. So back to some of our other questions. Tell us what types of industries Dubsado serves on the platform.
Yeah. So we have, of course, the photographers, the stationers, we have videographers, and then we have really interesting industries such as doulas and lawyers and accountants. Coaches are a really heavy industry that use Dubsado. So we have the creative side, and then we have the more legal side using Dubsado, which has been a recent transition for us. And we're really excited to build out some more features for the legal and the health side, as well as we're seeing more and more people come on. And we're like, okay, well, we need to address these people as well. So any creative industry or any service-based industry is kind of all that we serve.
Yeah, it seems like it works. Part of the reason I even asked that question is kind of a trick question because it's like, I feel like all industries use Dubsado.
Trick question. Everyone uses it.
Everyone.
I remember like hearing how many doulas were using the platform. I was like, that's so fascinating. Like, that this like niche has really figured out how to make this software work for them. And I just loved it too. for anyone out there who's like exploring using a client management system, that it's not necessarily based on like a timeline per se or an event date per se. Like you can kind of decide how you're going to categorize your projects and at what point they're going to be in like the different buckets on your timeline. And that was super helpful for me to break out of that like strict timeline mode when not everybody's like business operates that way, like a wedding planner per se, who might need that like really strict like linear timing. And there was just something about Dubsado worked with my brain so well. Like I'm not even sure I could describe the difference.
Me too. I know. Also, funny little side tangent here too, Becca. When Elizabeth and I hire any kind of help for our business, we always like judge whether someone's using Dubsado or not when they send a contract. We're like, okay, she uses Dubsado, we're gonna hire her.
We do too, with like partnerships and things like that. If we ever get a contract that's not Dubsado, we're like, come on, you got to just get your life together. Stop sending PDFs and let's do this right.
Yeah. If someone sends a PDF, I want to be like, oh my gosh, I want to help you so much. You should sign up for Dubsado. It's so much better.
Yeah. And the key to anyone listening, the key is to get Dubsado before you think you need it, because the moment you're like, oh my gosh, I really need it is actually too late. So like get yourself set up early, because I remember that I purchased the platform like before I had a single client. Like I did my 3 test jobs or 3 clients, whatever you're allowed to have before your trial ends. But I started paying for it right away because I was like, I have to figure this out. I have to have everything together. And so it's been a part of my business like ever since the very beginning. That was like on my like first to-do list, like the week of going full time, was like find a client management system. And I was just so lucky. Like Cami and I were both so lucky that when we went full time was when you guys were really kind of getting started. Because did you start early 2016 or was it 2015?
Yep. Exactly. 2015 was our beta, but our live launch was 2016. Yeah, that's when we opened to the public.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I must have bought or got myself a membership or whatever right when you guys started, because I started my side hustle like the beginning of 2016. So I know I had it like in like February or March.
I actually went back to one of our like very, very, very first webinars that I did, because I like going back and just getting, you look back on times, and you were in the chat of our very, very first webinar, Cami. And
that's amazing. Oh my gosh, so I love it.
That's so cute.
I never miss a webinar. Oh my goodness. It's been so many years. Oh goodness. Okay. I'm sorry. I've been so emotional this whole time. I don't know what the problem is. Okay. Back to questions. Okay. So Becca, what's one of the biggest challenges you have in regards to actually running Dubsado?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges would be growth and properly managing growth as a team and as a company as well in terms of features. We went from just being me and Jake to 4.5 years later having 45 employees.
Wow. That's even more than I thought you guys had. I thought I was going to guess like 30, but continue.
We just did a whole round of new hiring, and because we needed it, we realized, oh my gosh, we are now all strapped, so we got to push on and get more. And just developing the systems while still trying to proceed forward in pulling the company forward and launching new features. It's been a challenge. Handling a team of 45 is never an easy feat. Just when you're handling over 10 people, right. There's just a lot of needs, and making sure that everyone's input is heard. And it's been the most rewarding job to work with the team and grow that team. Then on the flip side, growing Dubsado and just making sure that what we put out is the most important thing that is put out, to make sure that this feature reflects the feature that we have planned in the next, we're planning features 2 years out now. So it's a whole puzzle that at times it gets a little messy and confusing, but as a team, we all know that we're learning and we're going together. So it's been the most rewarding challenge, but one of the toughest ones is just figuring out how to do this thing. And it's been a fun journey.
I love that so much. Yeah, I was wondering if like the growth element would be part of it, because I know that growing a team is no easy feat for sure, and like cultivating kind of like the culture of the company and how everyone operates with each other. But I love when I like open your emails now and I see the pictures of your employees. I'm like, that's Cameron. Like, he's the guy that like runs the webinars. Like, I can identify these people like by name because they're like really part of your family. Or like Liz, obviously, another big one. So for our final question, obviously 2020 has been a crazy year, but I wanted to ask you if you could share some of your 2020 wins, just get us started off on a good foot, finishing off the rest of the year, and tell us also what's coming next for Dubsado.
Yeah. So some of our wins is surviving a pandemic, which was fun.
Yep. Good times.
Big win. Big win.
But also in doing that, during the time that we were still hiring people, we still proceeded forward with all of that. So that was a big win. In terms of features that we launched, a huge win for us was we just launched our video conferencing integration. So that was kind of tailored towards the times right now, just with everyone video calling and chatting. So you can now, with your Dubsado scheduler, connect it to Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, so that link will automatically update for every appointment that you get. So that was like a really big and a really exciting feature that we got out there for the perfect time. But some exciting things that we have coming up, we've been really focusing on customization and ease of use for Dubsado. So it has been a slower process just because we're really thinking about how many clicks does it take to get to this point? How can we make that less? How can we make things more obvious? So just going through our entire system and tweaking UI things, places, and just making it a lot more customizable. I know Dubsado is already customizable, but in terms of client portals, just make that completely how you want it to be. Even if you don't want it to look how it is now, you'll be able to change that later. And redoing our form builder, which we're really excited for. I know you guys are big in forms. So that is something that we're going to be redoing and we're really excited for, because I want to allow people, even though you can add custom code to forms and make it look like a beautiful website, I want to make that easy for the person who doesn't necessarily know code to be able to make things look really, really, really awesome, even though you can do that without code. But just make things a lot easier for people who don't necessarily know how to customize with code.
I love that. I'm so excited to see everything. I remember the last time you guys did your big UI change, probably like a couple years back, a few years back. And it always throws you for a loop at first, but then you're like, oh, this totally makes sense. Like, because now I love it. Because at first I was like, where is everything? But that's just like the human mind, you know, it just takes a second to pivot. But I have like great faith in whatever you guys are doing, whatever direction you decide to go is obviously going to be a great fit, because you're so intentional with every little aspect and every little detail. And once again, I'm just like gushing because I love your company and I like would promote it.
I love you so much. We love you guys too.
We're diehard Dubsadies, I guess. I don't know what you would call us. What do you, Dubbies?
Dubbies. Yes.
Yeah, what do you call your Dubsado users, Becca?
I call them the Dubs fam. I've heard the Dubbers. I've heard many things. But yeah, there's lots of names that we've had thrown around out there.
That is hilarious.
But no, we certainly feel the love from you guys, and especially for being around for so long. I mean, you guys have seen Dubsado from its very, very early stages and, 0.1 release of the whole program to version 5 or whatever. So it's been really exciting.
So cool. Well, that kind of wraps up the questions that we have for you. And we're so glad that you popped in during this beginning segment so people could hear from you guys directly. This has been so fun. And we would honestly love to have you back for like some sort of like full-fledged episode in the future. So we'll reach out for that for sure.
Show.
Would love that.
Thank you so much, Becca. This was awesome. You're awesome. Everyone's awesome. Dubsado's awesome. We love you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, we're back. We're super excited to talk about our workflows and lead captures and proposals and all these awesome, amazing things. So, Cami, where should we start? I guess it makes the most sense to start with lead capture specifically.
Lead capture specifically. Okay, so everything kind of starts from this. This is like the beginning of the funnel for everything in our client process is the lead capture, which is basically just a fancy way of saying a form on your website that potential clients can fill out and get to know you, like your contact form. But this contact form is sneaky because it's linked up through Dubsado. Okay, and here's why it's so cool. When someone fills out your lead capture form that you put on your website, built through Dubsado, it'll automatically create a job for you in Dubsado. So you don't have to go in and like manually add any of your clients. This just automatically creates it for you, basically.
Yes, I do love the lead capture. I will say, since I've redone my website, I don't have it embedded into my website anymore, and I have to I have to manually add people, which is like the saddest thing ever. But after talking with my web designer, that was the decision we made for like the wedding invites and just the experience specifically. However, if you can do this, you really should do this because this is like the dream, because if I still had it my way and I had the lead capture embedded on my website, then they would get an automated email from me asking them to schedule a phone call, and I would not have to sit down to do that. And granted, that step only takes me a couple minutes, and I'm not to the point where I'm like so inundated with leads that I don't have the ability to do it. It's like relatively easy for me to keep track of. But if you can have that lead capture on your site and then you have a workflow set up and certain things get triggered after that, like follow-up steps and sending out emails to them and whatnot, like you're going to be setting yourself up for success. So Cami, I know for sure you have the lead capture form on your site.
Yes, mine is embedded in my website. And you guys, it's very easy in Dubsado to create this form, and then you can copy and paste this code and it'll be automatically embedded in your website and look like it's native in there. It's really, really seamless and really easy. And like Elizabeth was saying, you can trigger it to do different things after a client or a lead fills it out. So after someone submits the lead capture form, they get an email from me that's like, oh my gosh, thanks so much for sending this over. Keep pinning away to your wedding board. In the meantime, come say hey on Instagram. I'm working on your custom quote. And people literally think it's me sending that email like all the time. Like they don't realize it's a follow-up because I get responses to it like 80% of the time. They're like, oh my gosh, thank you. I'm so excited. I can't wait to hear back. Like it's very funny. So it makes you look like you're so put together. And literally half the time I'm like, I don't even know what's going on with my stuff. You know what I mean? But like it sends that email so automatically. And you can set up like, do you want it to send it automatically, like within like minutes, or you want to wait like an hour or like 15 minutes? You can like set your different timing on when you want it to send. I think mine sends within like 5 minutes. So they think I am like on it.
And what does that first email to them say exactly?
Oh, it just says, like I said, keep pinning away to your wedding Pinterest board. Thanks for filling this out. Like, I can't wait to get in touch with you. Come find me on Instagram and say hi in the meantime while I'm working on your proposal. It'll be sent to you like within 24 hours.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted you to say that again because it's super cute and easy and simple. It doesn't have to be anything like extensive and complicated. It's just a touch point for them to know that you're thinking of them. Yeah. Your system's thinking of them.
Exactly.
But you know,
it's not like I'm being like, I got your proposal, and if you're thinking about foil, here's this. If you're thinking about letterpress, it's not like I'm going to just blow them up with information. It's just literally like hey, thanks so much. Can't wait to chat more. So they know like they're formed and it just get like sent off into the abyss. Because you know what, sometimes when you fill out a form on someone's website or something and then nothing really happens and you're not even sure if you submitted it. I hate that feeling. So it's really just that like confirmation to be like, okay, I can check that off my list. I reached out to the stationer and then I'll follow up with them.
Yeah. I love that, honestly. Just to be able to do that one step. And you guys, you know the really scary word workflow that we throw around a lot, and everyone's like, what's a workflow? This is so scary and so mysterious. This is like step one of your workflow. So take notes, because Cami and I are basically like walking you through every single step in our process during this episode. And it's all done through Dubsado. So lead capture is the very first thing in your workflow. And like Cami said, like it can be automated, and that is wonderful and easy. and fun.
Yeah, and fun. Yeah, guys, workflow is such an intimidating word. Like when I hear the word workflow, I'm just like, oh my God, how can I set this up? Like that stresses me out so much. But like literally that is a workflow right there. And it's literally 2 things. Like it doesn't have to be like a 10-step process, like a trigger of events. I always think workflows should be like you hit the domino and like 42 things happen. But it's really like that is a workflow, just having one email sent automatically after a lead capture. Like that's one less thing I have to think about. And it makes me look awesome. So, okay.
It does. It does.
Yes. Okay. So let's say we got a lead. They filled out the lead capture form. The email was triggered and sent to them. They sent a reply back because they thought it was really me. And then now I have all their information to create their proposal. And for me, I ask for a lot of information in my lead capture. That's just my process. Yours might look different. Elizabeth's looks different than mine. So it's all just going to like depend on your ultimate business model. But for me, I'm able to send a proposal really quickly after I get the lead capture because I basically get all the information up front to put together a quote. And the proposal is basically a fancy term for having the invoice and the contract basically all in one pretty little easy to use form.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I do is after I get their information, I put together the quote, which goes in their invoices, and I'm able to set up like a payment due date or set up if I want it to be in 4 payments or just one or one full payment or 50% due. And you can change like the due date for it or have it fixed based on their wedding date or just pick a date. Like there's so many things you can do, you guys. It's mind blowing. But anyway, I usually just say like, okay, the first 50% payment is due like a week after you get this proposal. So I'll just edit the date on there. And then my proposal, I will have the invoice embedded in it. It's a smart field, so it can automatically update and change. If I like all of a sudden decide, I forgot to add on this one thing, I can change it and it'll show up automatically in their proposal, even if I've already sent it. It's very sneaky.
Mm-hmm. I know. I love that.
Yes. And having the contract in there. So what my proposal looks like is it'll basically have the invoice and it has like a cute little GIF because I make it fun, obviously. That's what I do. And it has their invoice and it says like, oh, I love this. I'm ready for the 50% retainer. And I'll say yes, no, or still have questions. And if they select still have questions, they can add their questions there and I'll get back in touch with them and talk about those things. If they hit yes, it'll automatically take them to the next page, which has the contract and they can sign that there. And then at the very end, it takes them to the invoice where they can make their first payment. It's literally like so beautiful, you guys. So easy. I never have problems with, I've never had any problems actually with a lead being able to understand how the proposal works and use it because it's like proposal, contract, invoice, and there's 3 little tabs at the top and it kind of flows through it as they click things.
Yes, I know. The proposals are super easy and wonderful. And when you make a proposal template in Dubsado, you can automatically attach a contract to it, basically. So every single time I make a custom wedding invitation proposal in Dubsado, the system knows that the contract that's going to be uploaded with that proposal is the custom stationery contract. Like I don't even have to go and push any buttons to do that. It just shows up when I add the form to the leads, to the leads like portal, to start all of that information for them. Makes it super, super easy. And every single time I'm like, oh, I need to add the contract. Oh, just kidding. Like it's already there.
Yes. And there was a couple other things I wanted to talk to you about proposals too, but I need to go look in Dubsado real quick to make sure. Because I know there's like some settings you can do, like proposal options. Like you can have, you can also have the client choose packages. I don't use packages, but let's say you can create packages in Dubsado. I feel like people are going to be so confused by this episode because we're like, look at all these things I can do. You could like create packages where they wanted to add on foil or something and they could select and it would update the invoice for you. It's really cool. You can have it have like a timer where it like basically expires after a week. So, if you're like, this pricing is only good for 1 week and you want to have that like push for like, okay, you got to get this in, like kind of thing, you can have the proposal expire. Like there's lots of cool things you can do to get the sale even more.
Yeah. There's a ton of tiny nuances. And honestly, one of the great things is that the great things and not great things is they're always making updates. And so sometimes I'm like, not even aware that something really cool was added because like the human brain can't even like keep up with basic, with like how our phones are updated, how our computers are updated, much less like how Dubsado is updated.
Dubsado is next level. I cannot keep up with their updates.
They are always updating things. And as you guys heard Rebecca talk about too, that's something that they're really passionate about, is like hearing what people want and making changes and making it the best system it can be. And honestly, like I promise that it is. We are hardcore Dubsado fans. I will say though, Cami, for the proposals, one thing that trips people up that I have noticed when I send the form is they won't like always fill out the first page. Does that make sense? Like even if the answer's a no, I think they're like too afraid to hit like, no, thank you so much for your time, I won't be moving forward, and then like hitting submit, because I wonder if they're afraid it's gonna like lock them in even though they're saying no or something like that. Like I have to do a lot of follow-up with people. Sometimes it feels like pulling teeth to be like, hey, are you moving forward? Are you not moving forward? Can you like please let me know so I can stop bothering you like 50 times a day?
Yeah. I mean, I guess like if I had someone who like if they wouldn't hit no, they would just be like, oh, actually, I'm not able. They would email me and be like, I'm not able to afford this, or just totally ghost you. Like typically the only things I get are like yes, or still have more questions. And the questions are like, what if I want to add a wax seal later on? Or do I get to keep the artwork? And then I just follow up with the answer, and then they go back and hit yes.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much just like, that just sounds like someone just being like, yeah, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to hit no, I guess. Like it's more just there because you have to have those options, I guess.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That totally makes sense. I'm like, I just wish that they would. I have had a couple of people do it, and that's really nice, because then it's like, okay, like we can set that aside now. It's like really obvious that they're not moving forward. That's the reason that I even have that option on the proposal in the first place. But I definitely, when people say yes, they definitely click yes and move forward through the proposal in the form. But I stress really stress in my emails to them when I send the proposal, like, hey, don't forget, we can still have a conversation and a follow-up phone call if you want to change things. This isn't like set in stone, this isn't like the 10 commandments, we can we can like go in there and change some things and shift some things around for you. You can request changes or let me know if you have feedback about things. Like I've really tried to keep it an open conversation with people when they inquire with me. It doesn't always work the way I want it to, but
yeah, I always let them know, like, the proposal is simply a proposal. Like, this is the proposed scope of work and things we're going to do. And your 50% payment on the invoice simply just gets you booked in my design calendar. Like, if we need to add on things throughout the process, or if like you decide you don't want the thank you notes at the end or whatever, we can take those off, and it's not a big deal, and it's not going to hurt my feelings. Like, a lot of people are like wary about like adding foil. They're like, oh, I want to add the foil printing, but I'm not sure. And I'm like, that's an easy upgrade. I can just remove that off the proposal right now. We can add it on later, or we can leave it. And then if you decide when you see the design that you'd rather just take it off, like it's not a big deal. I basically just be like, this 50% retainer just gets you booked to my design calendar, and your final invoice might not be exactly 50%. You know what I mean? It might be more. It might be a smidge less. It's typically more, but you know what I mean? Like, just so they're like, oh, okay. And I let them know it's like a very collaborative process, and it's not like you're buying something from like Minted, or you have to say this exact amount and order that then. Like, it's not like that, which is one of the perks of working with a stationer. So I always let them know that too.
I was going to say, I think that's a huge like sale perk for anyone out there who's a stationer. When you're talking to leads, like let them know that you have some flexibility. And granted, I know that some stationers, when you book calligraphy addressing with them, like as part of the package, they say they're like, this element's not flexible because I've built in extra time into your timeline.
Yeah.
Or I have let people in the past change their mind and not do calligraphy because like, hey, I get some time back. But it is hard to add that in later down the line. So I try to have people tell me up front, like, hey, what are you thinking about this? Because I need to like schedule in a couple extra weeks basically to address your envelopes. So there are some things that are flexible or are not flexible. Like, for example, for me, I also prefer to know up front, like, if someone's really passionate about using letterpress.
Yeah, that's
because that is
important.
also
That's
a little
design.
more
Yeah.
time consuming for sure. But there are a lot of things that can be really flexible, like envelope liners and wax seals and silk ribbon and all these add-ons, and even like foil printing, because depending on who you're using, you can still get a really fast turnaround with that. I have a couple different companies that have excellent and really fast turnarounds. So I would say that if you're not offering your leads some flexibility, you're probably doing them a disservice. And I know that might be like hard and weird to hear, because I think for people who are planners, they want everything to be set in stone and locked in place. But honestly, that's just like not how it works in this world. I don't know. That's just me. What do you think, Cami?
Yeah, and I think people get hung up on like having things locked in place because their pricing is like relies on whether they order 100 or whether they order 50, or like, you know what I mean? Or like if they get the foil, like they're like, oh, I'm making more money. But like if you have a set design fee that's pretty much the same no matter what the client chooses based on those add-ons, like you'll be fine no matter what. So maybe look at your pricing structure if that is what's affecting you. And we have a great resource for pricing if you want to check it out. It's our Biz Sense for Creatives. What's the link for that? Anyway, just go to bizbirthdaybash.com and all our resources are there. But honestly, if you need help figuring out your pricing and the structure for that, that is what you should go by. Okay.
Yeah, it's bizbirthdaybash.com/bundle because we made that short link so that people could get there easily. But I will say, because I do want to touch base on invoices really quick, because Dubsado allows you to add like as many itemized lines on an invoice as you want.
Yeah.
So this is something like strategically you kind of have to figure out how you're going to break down. So Cami inspired me. And I finally put my design fee on its own line, because I want them to know like this cost is not flexible. Like this cost of working with me does not change. It is indicative of my value and my expertise and what I'm offering to you. And I want people to see that, because that's what you've always done, right, Cami?
Mine is just all wrapped in one little package thing. I don't have my design fee separate now.
Oh.
So it wasn't me that inspired you.
Why did I think that? Oh,
I don't
that's
know.
so funny.
Yeah, mine's all in one package. Like, so there's only like 2 line items on the form. It's like custom wedding invitations and everything. And then like the add-ons are the only line items because they're easy to remove.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So you bundle all together.
Yeah.
It wasn't you. I was inspired by somebody else and was like, I really like the idea of having my design fee on its own line at the top so that they can see what they're paying me for my time. Because otherwise they start looking at the, you know, if you get into packages that are like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 and they're wanting to cut things out to like save some costs or whatever it may be, then you'll kind of have to like double backwards and be like, okay, well, actually, like part of this is my design fee for my time. So I feel like it saves me the headache of having to explain it to anyone who might ask or might be curious. And Cami, granted, like you're in a place where I feel like people are just booking $10,000 wedding invitations with you at the drop of a hat. Like they're not like really questioning.
Yeah, they don't really question. I'm like, that's what it is.
So your like value or your process or like your prices.
I did have a current lead and she was like, oh, I've worked with her family before and she was like, I was just wondering if I could like bring down the price at all. I was like, I'm sorry, but there's just no way I can bring this down. Like I took off one card for you on the save the date. So that's really the only way price could be. But she was like, I really admire that. She's like, you have such fantastic, but she also had an accent. So I felt like super amazing. She was like, you have such a fantastic business acumen. And I just really admire you as a businesswoman. And I think that's fantastic. I completely understand. And I was like, that was a great response. Thank you. She's like, but of course I had to ask. I was like, of course. But she was like, I really admire that. And I was like, thank you. She's like, you stay strong.
Yeah, I think for me more than anything, it's that psychology of like, I am standing by like my value and what I'm worth. And I did have a bit of an awkward conversation with the lead the other day on the phone, just because she kind of hinted towards the fact of, you know, like I think she was maybe getting $2,000 to $3,000 like from her parents to go towards wedding paper and stationery. And I was like, okay, well, I do want to let you know that like to even work with me, the price for that is $2,500, and that doesn't include like materials or supplies or paper or anything at all.
Yeah. Anything.
Except
It's
to
just
book
me.
and work with me
You
and my time. So I was like, let's say I did not feel super confident making that proposal because I was like, I highly doubt that she's going to book and move forward. But all that to be said, I keep my design fee separate. And then I do my biggest package that includes like all 3 of the cards and the envelopes and printing, like return address printing for the envelopes. And then I do everything else itemized underneath there. And like Cami said, like if you want to pay for a resource to actually understand how we're breaking down our invoices and why we're doing it the way we are, and you want to actually see like a copy of our invoices from the past, you can grab the Business Sense for Creatives bundle, which is just bizbirthdaybash.com/bundle, and you'll get all the secret intel. And even now, like even in this episode, I feel like we're giving away some of those
I do feel like we're giving away some stuff. Yes.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. Because for you guys who listen and are loyal listeners, this is why I said you need to have notes for this episode because we're like dishing it out
We are
for real.
spilling beans over here. Okay.
We could do a whole course on Dubsado for stationers, to be honest.
We really could. Okay. So invoices.
Coming in 2025. I'm just kidding.
If we're all still alive by then, if the world hasn't exploded. Okay. So we talked about invoices. We keep talking about invoices. We'll just like go on a tangent about pricing and all this stuff. So let's skip over to forms and questionnaires, which is one of my absolute favorite things about Dubsado is the forms and questionnaires. And like we talked about before, lead capture is basically just a specialized form that captures leads. So forms and questionnaires are basically used after you book the client to get more information from them. So my questionnaire is called like my love story questionnaire, and it's super cute. And I tell them they should do it for date night and like have a glass of wine with it and stuff. And I ask them all kinds of details, not only the nitty gritty wedding details that I need to know, but like personal stuff about them too, because everything I do is obviously super highly personalized. So having those types of things is really, really helpful for me. So that's like the first questionnaire I send. And then forms can really be anything. Like I use forms for sending over a timeline to my clients, like an estimated timeline. It's basically like, okay, your mailing date is going to be, mid-May or May 16th or whatever. So based on that, here's your wedding date. And based on that, here's the estimate of what's going to happen in these months. Like this month will be painting, this month will be proofing or whatnot. So it just kind of gives them a little like bird's eye view of what to expect. Which is really nice. I know my clients really, really appreciate that, especially if they're working with a planner. The planner loves getting those timelines and estimates. And if I put and I let them know like the actual dates might change on there as we move forward, because a year out, it's hard to know exactly when things are going, and like judging how smooth they are or like how quick they are and getting their stuff over to me also makes a difference. But it's also a great thing that I can come back to and be like, hey, you were supposed to have it in on this date and you waited 3 weeks. So that's why your mailing date is being pushed back 3 weeks too. So it's kind of a little, that meme of Mickey Mouse where he's like, that's a surprise tool we can use later. Like that's exactly what it is. So that's what forms and questionnaires come in handy for things like that.
I will say we have had this discussion before on like a Q and cake or something like that. I don't give my client any timeline except for the start date and the mailing date. And then like in between, it's basically managed by like, I tell them it's almost like a week by week process. And every single time they fill out a form with me, I tell them when they expect to hear from me next. So I like hold their hand for sure throughout the process. I'm not a big fan though of doing a timeline up front and having to change it and having to do this and that. I just have something written in my contract that if they delay giving a response to me, like a form or questionnaire I've sent or a design round, whatever it may be, like if they delay that more than 3 business days, that would allow me to charge like a rush fee or what I would need to charge. So I do that a little different, but I still obviously use forms. I use my very first form to send to them on the start day. So the start date for me, if we're just doing wedding invitations, is usually 6 months in advance. So that's the day that it's like, yay, it's your start day. Here's your very first questionnaire. And I'm like, a lot of this might feel repetitive. It's like the name of your fiance and your wedding date. But then it's also like the ceremony location and time and who's hosting the wedding. Is it the bride's parents? Is it the groom's parents? Is it everybody? Like, all of those
all those things.
nitty gritty things. That's what they get from me on the start day. And then I basically tell them after that, I'm like, okay, you can expect to hear from me in a week. So basically like 5 business days, and you'll receive like the sketches and the design proposal from me next week. So they always know like when to expect something next. There's no questions or like loose ends or anything like that. But everyone has their different approach, right? Like you gotta do what works for you, y'all. And it just cracks me up that like given Cami and I's personalities that we do this the way that we do, because like you would think I would be the one to give like a detailed timeline and you would be the one to like fly by the seat of your pants. But
I know, right? Like what the heck? I mean, I'm still flying by the seat of my pants, but it helps me like manage all my like booking stuff as well too, to be like, okay, well, I'm doing this on this basically this couple weeks or this month, I'm working on this. So, I mean, it's very loose. It's not like it's like, hey, this is going to be on this day. But if it's like, especially with like rush project, I feel like I've done so many rush suites, like those I have to be like, we have to stick to this timeline. If anything goes off, like it is off. Like,
yes. And that is an instance that I would probably do something similar where I'm like, literally, we need everything by these dates or we're screwed. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like if you don't have your addresses in by this date, it is not happening. Like having a time where they need to have their addresses in, maybe that might be the only timeline, like that thing that really, really, truly matters is being like, if you do not have your addresses to me by this time, because I feel like that's like one hang up that people don't realize how much time it takes, you know? And they're like, oh, it's actually going to take me a while. So, So yeah. Okay. So also with forms and questionnaires, we also use this for our proofs and design rounds, which is just, oh my goodness.
You're getting ahead of yourself. We're going to get there in a little bit.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought that was still part of form questionnaires.
No, that's like its own separate. If you look on our list, it's like bullet pointed a few down. We'll get to that in a second.
Oh, yes. I was going to say just like one thing I really love about the questionnaires I put together for my clients. I also include the photo uploader, which I think is just so cool for Dubsado to have that. And I'm like, here, you can upload like any of your photos for like, let's say if I was just doing like a map for someone or just doing like their pet portrait, like I have a pet portrait photo uploader and it's literally a questionnaire in Dubsado that just has a fancy photo uploader thing with it. And it has like a guideline on how to take your pet's photos and all this stuff. But I also have it in my love story questionnaire for my wedding clients. And they can add photos of like their dress or something that inspires them or the church where they're getting married, all these things, just so it's all in one place. And it's just so nice to have that. Like instead of being like, oh yeah, just you can fill out this form, but also email me your photos. It's just very nice to have it all in one little thing. So that makes things a billion times easier. For Crest, I use that as well. Like it just has somewhere where they can put something, which just
it makes everything just super streamlined. That's just the goal of Dubsado in general, is for everything to be super streamlined. And I will say, I just used the photo uploader recently in one of my design round forms, believe it or not, because I had done sketches for this client and she wanted her dogs incorporated. So I like stalked her Instagram for like a general idea of what her 3 dogs looked like. And made some like really, really ugly loose sketches of them. But then when I presented it to her, I was like, hey, just FYI, I did these sketches based off what I could find on Instagram. But if you could upload some photos of your dog, insert photo uploader here.
Yes.
So I can use these when creating the actual art for the suite, that would be amazing. And she gave me like 10 photos. There's like 3 photos of each dog, which is wonderful. It was awesome. So I kind of just like threw that into one of my like design round forms and it was perfect. But anyways, guys, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back right after this. Hey there, fellow stationers. Are you creating custom invitations and still sending a lackluster contract that's hacked together with Google searches and generic templates? We've got you.
We've created a custom stationery contract written for stationers by stationers, and it is lawyer reviewed and approved. #LegalRockstar. The custom stationery contract template covers every stationery snafu, protects you and your client's interests, and sets up an expectation of professionalism. We've combined our previous contracts as well as years of experience to bring you a contract that covers your booty and your biz. Become a put-together pro and breathe a sigh of relief knowing that you have a contract that is easy to understand and avoids confusing legal jargon.
The custom stationery contract template is only $297, which is much less than what you can expect to pay anywhere else. And it's written by 2 gals who have seen it all.
Spoiler alert, it's us.
It's time to do things right. Go to bizbirthdaybash.com/contract to purchase and download your copy today. And as a special treat, use code PODCAST2020 to get $20 off. And that's podcast all caps 2020 to get $20 off. Woohoo! All right, we're back. Okay, Cami, I totally squashed you earlier with the proofs and design rounds, but we can move into that now.
I'm ready now. I'm ready to talk about proofs and design rounds because I legitimately would not be able to run my business at all without these. Like, as a stationer, this changed the game for me. This really, really did, because I used to send, and by I used to send, I did this like one time because I got Dubsado like ASAP. I sent my first proof like as a PDF via email, and it was so stupid and ugly and janky. And then I got Dubsado and I was able to put all my proofs in there, and it's literally drag and drop, you guys. Like, you save the images, you put them in there, and then you can drag and drop like feedback things where they can type in their text, or they can say, I approve this, yes or no. Like, there's all different types of options of like drag and drop things. You can do like check or like drop downs or check boxes. I'm just trying to explain this if you've never used Dubsado, like a visual, because it's literally just like drag and dropping these boxes into things. So proofs and design rounds, all my proofs go through Dubsado, all my design rounds. It makes it so beautiful and easy for your clients to be able to look at their suite and say, hey, on this, I don't like this, or change the wording on this. And it makes it easy for you too, because you're able to have all your feedback in one place. And then you can also, one of the great features that they added was the ability to copy a form within like someone's job. So within the proof, like after you send the first proof and they fill it out, you can just hit copy, and then you can change all the photos with the new ones for their second proof. So it's like makes it very, very easy to just kind of like fill in the blanks as you go. I feel like I'm not explaining this well, you guys, but hopefully that kind of makes sense. You can just like easily change out the photos or the proofs to not have to rebuild a form every single time.
Yeah, that's basically what I do is like once I get like my first design round form into the client's like portal, I copy iterations of that basically and just change it as needed. And just so y'all know who are listening, we do all of our like mock-ups and editing and whatnot in Photoshop and Illustrator, export those as JPEGs, which we then pull into the Dubsado forms. So for those of you who are like, how does this work? Your mind's like breaking. It's a lot easier than you think.
Yeah.
And so once you have those photos in there, then you can give them little like feedback boxes that they can type notes into underneath it. That's how I collect the feedback on design rounds. And the great thing is that you basically do the same thing when you do a proof at the end, like a printing proof.
Yeah.
And you just make it a sub agreement within the portal. And this is also great because Dubsado allows you to move forms between categories. So if you go into like your template library on the back end, I could move something from the forms category into the sub-agreements, and it would like change itself to a sub-agreement in a form with a signature, if that makes sense. So if I needed to do that, if they said they're like, everything's perfect, I could be like, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and make this a sub-agreement and you can sign off on everything. That's not what I do because I'm very, very, very like type A about my proofs. They're very, very specific. But if you wanted to like do that to get an easy signature on something, or maybe they need to sign off on like changing a cost on an invoice or adding an upgrade or something that they agreed to, you would be able to do that without having to build an entirely new form. You could just like pull it over between categories. You could like save it as a template and then move it to a sub-agreement category and send it off to them to get a signature, if that makes sense. I might be convoluting things for some people, but
it's kind of like hard to explain some of the things without showing them. So I'm like doing a lot of hand motions, which is very helpful.
I am too. I'm like gesturing like back and forth. Yeah. Like I can't see any of that.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, is that all in proofs and design rounds? I mean, I feel like we just like glossed over that, but there's just so much you can do with it, you guys. I mean, it really is incredible, and it's so nice to just be able to have things in one place, like not only for your client, but for you too, because I literally say, like, if you email me something, I'm not going to see it. Like, if you don't put your feedback in the form, like, it's not going to be considered feedback. Like, I'm sorry. So I always try to like I don't know, direct my clients to being like, whatever you email me doesn't count. If you don't put it in this feedback form, I won't see it because I'm running a business and I have a million other things to do than babysit all your emails you're sending me. So like,
Yes.
put it in the form.
That is something too, that's an expectation that really needs to be set up at the beginning of your relationship with the client. Because as soon as you let them get away with it once, like all hell is just going to break loose. So I had to do this quite a bit when I was kind of navigating this relationship between a client and her planners. And eventually her planners did take over the process. But I had to keep reminding them. I was like, you guys, you need to put this in the form. Like, you can send me like your PDF of ideas or whatever, but I was like, you have to put it in my form. That is my process. You need to do it. And I was like, and I know that your client is the one who signed the contract and the agreement with me, but you're still bound to the same rules because you are freaking working for her. So
yeah, exactly. Just be like, look, you got to do this. Okay. So do it. And then on the topic of design rounds too, well, this is like a tangent because I want to talk about like the portal, which Elizabeth,
Yes.
you were saying portal earlier, but I think you really just meant like the job, because there is a client facing portal.
Yeah, I'm just talking about like the back end portal.
Exactly. Well, that's called a job. So call it that because I don't want to confuse people on like what a portal is versus, you know what I mean? Like that way we don't
I've always
confuse.
called it a portal in my head. So
exactly. It pretty much is, but there is a feature too called the portal, which is like
the
your
client facing portal.
The client facing portal where all these proofs, invoices, proposal would live. So it's kind of like the happy little home where all the forms live and they can see it all at once at a glance. And I don't think you use the portal for your clients. Do you use the portal?
I don't, because like every single time I have tried in the past to be like, by the way, here's your password to like access anything at any time, they've either A, never used it, or like B, I've never had a client like follow up to ask like, I can't find my contract or my invoice or whatever. Yeah. Like, so I've just never like implemented that into my business. But I mean, I know you love it, and I know a lot of people
love it, you guys. This is like my secret weapon to knock my clients' socks off is when I send them the portal. And one thing really cool about Dubsado too is you're able to basically create external links that are linked within the portal too. So it'll be like a page that has all their design proofs, their questionnaire, and then like external links, which what I use that for is my guest addressing template. So I use a Google Doc for that, and I'm able to link that there. So I can, if they're like, where is that? I can be like, oh, just go to your portal, and they go in there and they can see everything all at once, which is really helpful if a lot of my clients are working with planners, and the planners can go in there too. All they need is the client's password, and they can go in and see everything as well. So everything is all in one place. Like her mom can go look at it. Like all these things are all right there and very easy to see. Like the timeline would go in there. It all just automatically gets added into the portal. And I like to make my portal customized too because I'm insane. But anyway, I have the top. There's like you can customize the colors of the portal, and like the top has like a banner. And I have like a template that I made in Photoshop where I literally just put the clients' names and like a little snippet from their lookbook or like an inspiration image of like their flowers or something, or like their dog, and make it like super cute. And so when they log in, it's like customized to them and their wedding, and they're always like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like they always love it. So the portal is like a very cool tool that you can use. And I love too, you can link it from your website. So if you go to like, I don't know if it's like camiandI.com/clients or client or something like that. It's like a portal login. So it's always very easy for them to find it as well. So my clients have told me they love it. They're like, this is just so cool. I think it's so excited about it. And if you're working with someone for like a year or longer, or doing save the dates and invitations, there's like a ton of forms and a ton of back and forth. So it's just really nice if they have it all in one place and not have to like search through your inbox abyss, because I feel like Google deletes emails sometimes. But anyway, that's another side tangent. So it's very nice for them to have that. If you're not using it, maybe take a look at it and see if it could work for you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Got to decide what's best for you. Because like I said, I just don't really use it. And I did use it as a client because like Catherine of Creme Brands, she used the portal, and like as a client, I just like didn't love it either. It probably just doesn't work with my brain. But like Cami said, like her clients love it, Cami loves it. So it's just up to you and your business.
Yeah, for sure, you guys. Okay, so that's my little tangent on the portal.
Yes. So another thing that I made note of real quick is call scheduling. And I know that Cami, you do not use this feature because you don't do a ton of like
Oh, I
scheduled
do.
calls.
I do use call scheduling, but I don't do it through Dubsado. I was just still using my like Calendly link, but I think it like syncs up through Dubsado and you can do it. So I just like you know how Dubsado they just come out with features all the time that I just literally don't take the time half the time to learn them because I'm like I got my stuff set up. I'm good. Can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
So I could probably use actually go in and use this, but I still just send my Calendly link, which was fine.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Dubsado basically does the same thing as like Calendly would do. And so I have the link to my Dubsado scheduler as a canned email in my Gmail inbox because, like I said, sadly, my lead capture form is not like the embedded one for Dubsado anymore. But having a canned email in Gmail at least allows me to reply to those people really quickly to be like, and by the way, here's your link where you schedule the phone call with me. And yes, this is a requirement in order to like book with me. Like you have to be willing to talk to me on the phone and talk about what you want for invitations. But I think that that is great, that that is something that Dubsado is offering now as well, because instead of paying for another platform or potentially having to pay for another platform, it's just included in your price of Dubsado, which we have not talked pricing for Dubsado yet, you guys, but it is $35 a month, which like if you book a client who's paying you $1,000 for wedding stationery, let's say you're just starting out and your prices are still really low, you guys, it's still so worth it. Like you just have to do it. You have to take away that mental block of the price of the platform and just pay it because it is so worth your sanity because it includes so much. It includes all these things we've been talking about.
Yeah, think about all the time you would not be able to have back if you didn't pay that $35. Like that is 100% worth it. And just looking professional, which is one of the main things of being a business owner is just having that really, really good brand perception and making things easy for your clients. Where they're like, wow, that was really easy to work with her. Like I'm gonna refer her out because I love the process so much. But if you're like sending janky PDFs and PayPal invoices and stuff, they're gonna be like, okay, this person's just like a hobby person versus like this is a stationery boutique. Luxury, high-end
luxury.
And they're just going to say fancy words the whole time about how it was working with you.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
It reminds me of, I know you haven't seen How I Met Your Mother, Cami, or have you?
Yeah, I have.
You have when Barney is doing that business pitch and he's just throwing out like really big fancy words.
Yes,
like
exactly.
That's what it reminds me of.
Oh my gosh. Okay, moving on to this whole thing. We have a thing about workflows, but this whole thing is basically workflows. It's just you can choose whether you want to automate them or not. So I'm just going to give a quick little example of like what a workflow would actually look like if you did want to do something like that because things trigger each other. So like here's an example. When people say workflow, here's just an example of that. So like, let's say you send the client a contract and then you can create the next workflow step to be like, add the tag wedding invitation client after the contract is signed. And then the next workflow step would be change project status to current after contract is signed. And then send welcome email 10 hours after contract is signed. And then create a to-do. Send welcome gift 3 days after previous actions are completed. Like that is a legitimate actual workflow example. It is not my workflow. I don't even do this, but I'm just saying you can automate things to trigger after the client does something. Like if the contract's signed and you want all these things to happen, it'll do that. I don't do that. I just kind of like know what I'm going to do. But that is an example of how you could use Dubsado for workflows if your brain really loves this like automated process like that. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Yes. No, I love that. That's a perfect like little mini breakdown.
Yes.
Guys, like I said, take notes. Go rewind a minute if you need to, if you want to hear Cami say that. Just like the action steps that she said. She doesn't even use them, but it is a great example of something you could automate in Dubsado. It's something Cami and I both do this basically because we know that we need to do it. But you can have Dubsado do it for you and save so much time. And I know of people who have built entire like follow-up workflows as well. So this works particularly well, I think, not necessarily for stationers, but other industries like photography, like people who are trying to book a family session or something that maybe doesn't have a specific date. I heard a speech from a gentleman once who talked about his whole entire follow-up workflow, that it was like a weekly email that was sent out to the lead asking them like, have you thought about it? Here's my calendar if you want to book. Like, and he said that he's able to get so much business because of it's like 7 weeks of emails or something like that he just continues to like follow up with people. So there's all the sorts of amazing ways to use workflows in
definitely
your business for sure. So we're going to go ahead and take another really quick break, and we'll be back right after this.
Hey guys, we share a ton of free, helpful info here on the podcast, but if you're looking to go deeper, you need our Business Sense for Creatives bundle. This is our foundational resource. We share it all: our pricing strategies, marketing plans, our favorite print partners, real life examples of our invoices and workflows, and so much more. Literally, it is amazing. It really is the comprehensive guide for a money-making creative biz.
So with the bundle, you'll get access to our 3 webinar replays: Pricing with Purpose, How to Be Confident When It Comes to Charging Your Worth; People and Publicity, How to Find Clients and Deliver an Awesome Experience; and lastly, Productivity and Processes, How to Run Your Business Efficiently and Get Crap Done.
And not to mention, you'll also get our 3 bonus PDF party favors. What? We've heard from students that these are worth the price of it alone. So the party favors are pricing FAQs, the SEO cheat sheet, and a mini favorite vendors guide to get you started on where to print invitations.
So just to clarify, that is not only 3 awesome video recordings, but 3 bonus PDFs as well that support the content from the videos. So I think it's a pretty good deal.
Totally. It's the best deal out there. And you have lifetime access to it, which also adds to the whole value. So,
woohoo! Don't take it from us, though. Take it from the hundreds of students who have learned from the bundle and have said that these were the best, most real, and informative webinars that they've ever watched. We've seen students double their prices after watching these and totally skyrocket their businesses.
This is our roadmap of how we got to where we are today, so skip the mistakes and speed bumps, doing it the slow way, and let us put you on the fast track to running a creative biz like a boss and pricing for profit and not just pay.
And the best part, this resource is less than $100. Seriously, y'all, it's only $97, and it's so worth that price and much more. So go to bizbirthdaybash.com/bundle to purchase it today. All right, y'all, we're back to talk about our top 3 favorite things about Dubsado as we try to wind up this episode, which is very hard for us to do because
I know we can cut off some of this. The
talk
last
about
thing.
this all day. Yeah, we can make this a little. We can make this a little shorter.
Okay, yeah. So we'll just do our. We don't even have to do our top 3 favorite things. Actually, we already have to now because I already said it. So okay, top 3 favorite things. Just lightning round real quick. One of my favorite things is the ability to change colors, because that's really important to me. Like changing my brand colors. Everything is branded to me, have my logo on there, have my colors, and there's no like Dubsado logo anywhere on client facing stuff, which is huge for me because some of the other platforms I tried before Dubsado were like branded and I did not like that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very, very clean and classy looking.
Oh, did you want me to jump in?
Yeah, back and forth. We're going back and forth.
Awkward. Okay. Let's see. Well, now I'm put on the spot. You have to keep going because I'm still thinking.
I didn't actually think about my top 3 things beforehand. I'm just like spitballing here because I have so many. Okay, my other favorite thing. Oh, I already talked about how much I love the photo uploader, but I'm saying it again because it really makes my life so much easier in so many different ways, especially with like my pet portraits, to have them upload the photo there and have a cute little form for it. It just looks so clean and classy.
And do one more.
One more thing that I really love about Dubsado. Well, obviously we talked to Becca and she's just freaking incredible, but I really, really love like the community that Dubsado offers and just like how incredible their customer service is. Like literally if you email them within no lie, like 40 seconds, they get back to you. And then seriously just continues to blow my mind. So I really love the customer service aspect of Dubsado, which is not necessarily a feature, but it's kind of like this invaluable thing that you get to experience and is really, really helpful when you're depending on this system to basically run your business, that you want people to respond to your emails if you have questions. And they've always been like next level with that. So that is definitely up there for me because I talk about it all the time when I'm trying to get people to sign up for Dubsado. I'm like, you guys don't understand. Their customer service is insane. So I'm going to have to add that to one of my top 3.
Yes, absolutely. I would say that's easily in the top 3. We just said top 3 favorite things. It was very generic. It did not have to be a feature. So
I know, but in my head I was thinking feature when I wrote it.
I get that. Okay, I would say one of the big things for me with Dubsado is the ability for it to talk to the other systems I have in my business. So the fact that it syncs with my Google Calendar and it syncs with my Gmail, like those are things that are really, really important to me as a systems minded person. Other favorite thing for sure is definitely those workflows. I'm still getting a hang of them. I had an awesome one set up for my wedding invitations that I need to like go back in and make some tweaks to and just like make it better and stronger than ever. But it basically like prompts me and reminds me when I need to do the next step for a client, which is awesome. And then, oh man, what else should I say? I mean, honestly, like basically the fact that you can do subcontracts, because a lot of other platforms only let you have one contract per job. But with my process and what I do, like clients most of the time end up having to sign off on a couple other different things. So they have to sign off on the USPS mailing agreement with me. They have to sign off on proofs with me. They might have to sign off on something else during the process. So I guess that just kind of like speaks towards the flexibility of the platform, that you can make it like anything that you want it to be and that you need it to be for your business. And yes. I'm just like obsessed with it and always have been. And we freaking have a code for you guys if you want to try Dubsado now that you have listened to us babble on about it for an hour.
We can still like talk about more things about it. I mean, like literally like the fact that they do one-on-one calls and that there's a whole Facebook group of people who are sharing ideas and they're in there too, like talking about things. And if you haven't used it before, they do like a white glove transfer service where you get like up to 10 forms transferred for free. Like they'll go in and like make them for you, which is really cool if you're using another platform. So all these things, but we do have a code you can use for 20% off your first month or year. It's Biz Birthday Bash. Just use that where you get your 20% off discount. Biz Birthday Bash, you guys. Okay.
Yes. Do it 100%. I promise it is so worth it.
Yeah, at least just go check it out and do a trial, because it's not like a time trial. It's up to 3 clients. So you can like literally have it for like a year before you decide to purchase, if you're not like adding more stuff. But you can go just test it out, poke around, see how you feel. But just do it, you guys. You'll love it. I promise.
I know. I promise you will love it. And I feel like I had something else that I wanted to like say there at the end. And now, of course, I don't remember. I mean, the great thing is, though, that if you use Dubsado and you love Dubsado, you can get an affiliate code of your own to hand out to people. And then you can actually get like free months of Dubsado if you refer a friend. So that is another thing I have loved, because Cami and I have basically both been able to pay for lifetime plans using like what we have generated from just like talking about the platform, because we love it so much. So
yes, I think I know what you're going to say. I think I know what it is. I think you're going to say that, you guys, we're going to do a follow-up episode to this with your questions about Dubsado. So we're going to do like a special like Q and Cake edition, but Dubsado. Q and Cake Dubsado edition. I can't speak. Okay. Yep. So if you have questions about Dubsado specific to that, then drop us a line at, is our email working now or no?
Well, I would say the Gmail one. So bizbirthdaybash at gmail.com is just going to be the easiest one for now until we figure out what the heck is going on with the other one.
Or you can go to bizbirthdaybash.com/Q and Cake and put it there and just say like, this is a Dubsado question. I mean, we'll understand it's a Dubsado question, you know. Yeah. But and then we'll do a follow-up episode answering y'all's questions on that. So anything specific about our process or Dubsado in general, we'll be happy to answer, and that's going to be so fun.
Yes, and please put Dubsado somewhere in the subject to that email if you email us directly, just so that we have a way to like grab it really quickly and make note of it, and so we don't lose track of it.
Yes. All right, guys. Now get out there and go make your workflows and land some sweet clients with some sweet questionnaires. All right. We love you guys. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.